heading down to the beach this evening. It's one of those lovely late winter evenings when the sky has a soft pastel colour glow to it and the geese are being very vocal as we pass by. I find winter can be a right drag, and I so much prefer the longer days in summer. But one of the bonuses at this time of year is getting to enjoy the beautiful sunsets that you get. I especially like when the light hits the hills and the mountains, and it gives them a beautiful orangey glow. My favourite part of this walk is crossing this paddock and getting that first proper view of the sea, with the tiny little islands and the coastline of the peninsula on the other side of the loch. I particularly like the closest little island, with its hardy Scots pine growing on it. It's such an iconic view for me. Back in November, someone shared some photos in one of the local Facebook groups of a humpback whale that had been spotted while out on a boat trip, and I immediately recognised the island in the background of the photo. It was this very one, which means the humpback was in this very loch. I would absolutely love to see a humpback whale. I think that would just be so special. There was also a humpback spotted going around the Isle of Skye not long after. I'm not sure if it would have been the same one. I did read that in 2025, the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust reported spotting 40 individual humpback whales over the winter, which is an amazing amount. Although the beach is lacking in sand, it is the best spot I know for finding driftwood sticks, which I use for all my woven wall hangings, so I usually gather a few nice ones while I'm down here. Someone got carried away stick collecting, and it wasn't me. Guess I'm just gonna have to do an awful lot of weaving now. Inspired by the knowledge that a humpback whale had been spotted in that very loch, I just had to make a whale weaving. So I've just finished doing my latest weaving. Here it is. It's a cross section, so you've got under the water, but you've also got the Scottish Highlands above. There is going to be a humpback whale needle felted onto this piece, which is what I'm going to do now. So I will show you that process. So now I need to decide where my wheel is going to sit on this weaving. So I've already made this template, so I'm just going to pop on where I kind of think I want the wheel to go. And just clip that into place, like so. And then transfer this onto my little needle felting brush pad. And now I'm going to use this template to create a needle felted background. I find it much easier to needle felt complex shapes like this wheel by using a template. Otherwise it's quite easy to get the proportions wrong and you end up with an animal that's too big or too small for the piece, or the head is just far too big for the body. Once I've got a base layer down that covers the whole shape, I can remove the template and add more details on top. If you get the wool thin enough, you can actually add quite a bit of detail to the piece. I really enjoy needle felting. It's quite therapeutic to just repeatedly stab away at some wool, and it makes quite a satisfying sound while you're doing it as well. You do have to make sure you keep your fingers out the way though, as I've been stabbed by the needle a couple of times before, and I do not recommend it. first got into needle felting back when I was a young teenager. I got a book on making needle felted 3D dogs, so I made loads of these little fluffy felted dogs. I've still got them all stored away in a box. I actually also made some needle felted sheep for my final project at art school. I really enjoyed making them, but I don't think my tutors really got it. It wasn't really what they were into at Glasgow School of Art. They probably also wouldn't really like any of my weavings either. There wasn't actually much I made at art school that my tutors did like, which is really disheartening for someone who at the time was very sensitive and lacking in confidence. Actually, their parting career advice to me was that I should maybe just write about cows instead of making art, so that just sums up my art school experience. Still, at least it sounds impressive on your CV to say you went to the Glasgow School of Art. Might as well milk it for what it's worth. And yes, the pun was definitely intended there. Looking back at it, it's quite weird that we're making these big career choices in our late teens. There were so many more uni courses out there that I just didn't know about. I'm in my 30s now, and with hindsight, I would probably have chosen a totally different path from going down the illustration art school route. Although, to be honest, if I'd just gone to my second choice of Dundee, I'd probably have enjoyed myself a lot more. Anyway, back to this whale. I like to trim up some of the loose fibres at the end, just to neaten it up before I attach one of my driftwood dowels, and then that's me done. So here is the finished piece. I've got to say the needle felting is a lot more tricky than I thought it would be to do a whale. I don't think I had quite the right colours for it, but I think it's worked out. It is quite a dark background, so I'm hoping it doesn't disappear in too much. Gone for a nice, thick and very straight bit of driftwood, which I think finishes it off really nicely. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you're interested in my weavings, you can find a link to my online shop in the video description. See you soon!